In Search of Knowledge, Past, Present, and Future is a series of unique programs that are designed to show our history as a living history rather than just a list of names and facts about people in the past. It is a Black history lesson, a vocational tool to interest people in various occupations, and a mini museum containing books, artifacts, and photos of notable blacks, bringing an original art exhibit directly to the classroom. Chaundra Daniels is a seasoned professional with a diverse background in the corporate, education, and nonprofit sectors. She has helped people at all economic levels get the education and training they need. In addition, she is a professional comedian and a podcaster. Sandra, many times we tell our children to go to college, and then what they find when they get out is they can't get the job of their dreams right away. I like to say artists like to eat, but they don't always get to eat doing what they love. So what kind of jobs have you held in your career?
I've been an administrator at a university. I've been a phone collector,
Okay.
a car collector, yes. And that was my first job while I was in college, transitioning out of college. And it helped me with my communication skills and my inter-office politics skills. So it was a good job to have, especially when you're asking people for money.
Okay.
I've also worked as a job coach and a job developer for people with disabilities.
Okay.
Very rewarding work. In addition to understanding that all people have a purpose and want to live this life.
Okay. So what college did you attend and what degrees do you have?
I attended Temple University right here in Philadelphia, and I received my bachelor's degree in psychology many moons ago, and also hold a master's degree from Hofstra University in Long Island, New York, and I'm actually New York City transplant.
Okay. So how did those experiences, the master's, the undergrad, how did they help prepare you for your career choices?
Well, I would say my undergrad, and this is being completely honest, and I know I can share this, and it might seem unorthodox, but that's the kind of life I live. I went to college and didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I picked the most grand major because it sounded good, and I knew it made a lot of money. And I wanted to be a corporate lawyer, and I wanted to do mergers and acquisitions.
Okay.
But I just wanted to reap the rewards. I didn't understand there was a whole process behind it, and sat in my first pre-law class and literally fell asleep. I was like, no, this is not happening. I did the homework and barely did it. And went through a series of changes. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And then Temple told me to take a break.
Okay.
And so because I didn't know what I was doing, I was failing at everything.
Oh, no.
I mean, everything. And so I was academically dismissed.
Okay.
And so it was right, I don't know if you remember when Temple had a strike, it was 1990. And the teachers had a strike and we didn't have classes, so for that semester you're just partying and looking for work and doing something. But this is real life. This happened.
This is life.
And so I did not adjust accordingly because when the next semester came and we had classes and they came to an agreement, the teachers returned to the classrooms, Chaundra Daniels was nowhere to be found because she was still stuck in the last semester, right? So Temple said, we're going to give you some time off to figure out what you want to do. And I went home and I temped at a bank as a receptionist, and I hated it because that was it. It was answer phones, get coffee, speak to people, and that was what I liked, but it wasn't something I could see myself doing.
But sometimes that's what we need, the experience. We need to get into those jobs that we need to pay the rent.
Yes.
To find out, maybe I need to do something else.
Yes. So it challenged me. So I wrote a letter to my dean and literally begged her.
Okay.
But I found during that writing that I could advocate for myself. And that was a pretty good pitch. I really explained that I made a mistake. I didn't understand the entire process of education or the benefits, and that I wanted to further. And I sat with my dean, and she said, okay, Chaundra, you can come back to school, but you cannot get less than a B.
Okay.
Which is pretty high when you're not even close to it, right? I was part of the alphabet I was daggone near ZB. I had passed the F. I'm surprised if Temple still has my transcripts.
Okay.
But I was able to come back in and I didn't get less than a B.
Okay.
And I graduated only a semester later than intended. And I was very happy with that accomplishment. So I ended up graduating with a degree in psychology.
Yeah. A lot of times our youth don't understand until real life hits them. what is important and what you really need to do to set your goals and to go down that path that you really want. So because you've been in education, you said you worked with Hofstra and a number of other places, what advice would you give to parents, especially with all your experiences, what advice would you give to parents to help them raise reasonable, sensible adults?
Listen to your children.
Okay.
And speak with them. Don't tell them what you think they should do. Because while we're parents and we want to make sure that the world is going to be okay, we all have to have our experiences. And so if your child is saying something that doesn't resonate with you as a parent, that's okay because it's resonating with them. You might need to go do the homework and find out to help them and guide them. You're a parent. Your job is to help and guide and mold. Now, if they want to do something that you know totally is going to be destructive for their life, of course, I say intervene. But let people explore. You have these times where you just need to have an opportunity to pick and choose and do it while you're young. Do it while you can. Do it while your parents are allowing you to and can afford to do so.
I can remember when I was in high school discovering the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and the section that he wrote about children. Your children are not your children, they come through you, but they are not of you, and that they're going to see worlds that you've never understood. Our children are brilliant.
Yes.
And I said, yes, that's why my parents don't understand.
Yes.
But then as a parent, I had to take another step back and look at it through different lenses. And so, as you said, if parents can talk to their children, not at them, but talk with them, they're going to have a better relationship with them.
And parents should find adversaries, right? So find the people that support and know your child. And are always saying, oh, Miss B, she's going to be a bright one. She's right. Find out what they see in your child as well and have them, say, I'm trying to, my child told me something, I'm trying to figure this out. And find adversaries. And for your village. It takes a village to raise your child. These are people in your life to help support and raise.
I can remember there were times when people would say things about, oh, your child is so good. And I'm like, who are you talking about? Because the behaviors that they have with parents can be different with another adult because they have a different type of relationship.
They do.
So when you get that village involved, it really helps. So speaking about the village, how important is it for you to get along with others?
It's paramount. It's paramount. I am a people person. Relationships matter to me. I mean, life is about relationships. Everything we do is hinged upon a relationship. This conversation, someone watching this, someone had to produce it, someone had to get together, someone had to provide the lights and the air to keep us cool. Those are relationships that come together to provide services. And so I am a #1 fan of helping people and wanting people to get along. Now, I'm not saying you have to, like somebody. You just have to understand that what they add value to your life and you add to theirs and keep it moving. Okay,
so given that, in your professional life especially, do you belong to organizations, and if so, what organizations do you belong to?
So professionally, I am a member of SHRM, that's the Society of Human Resource Management, and also the Association for Talent Development. But personally, something that's very dear to my heart, I am part of a leadership team of I Love Bob's, and that's I Love Black-owned businesses here in Philadelphia.
Okay. So now I want to talk about your other side, because that's one part of you, but I really want to go deeper into the other side, the comedian, the professional comedian. I had read Flip Wilson's biography, and that's when I discovered that comedy is really hard. It's not as easy as people make it, the professionals make it look easy. Why is comedy so hard to do?
Because it's art, and anything that requires a process requires you to get involved in the process. So when you see someone on stage or you see someone performing anywhere, there was a process behind that delivery, and it requires discipline. It requires focus. It requires you getting back up after falling again many times. And that is hard to do.
So is it hard to write jokes?
It can be. It can be. For me, I'm greatly inspired because I take SEPTA. And all the people that take SEPTA, there's a story walking on the bus every second. All you have to do is sit still, and here goes another joke. And it's not a person; it could be a situation. It could be what I see out the window. It could be anything. But I always avail myself to being open to what I see, and then I let it process.
So do you ever find yourself in a situation where it's humorous and you really want to write about it, but you don't want to reveal who it comes from? I say, I change the names to protect the guilty. So do you find yourself in that situation where you know you've got material, but you really can't use it because everybody would know who it is?
No, because all my friends and family and people that know me, I know they use me, and I know they think that I'm going to tell their story, and people invite me to things just because Chaundra, don't use this on stage. You know what that means? Chaundra, use this on stage. So you know what I do? I don't say anything. I laugh and I smile, but I soak it in. But no, people share stuff. You know, I am by trade a counselor. And I am thankful and gratuitous for having the gift of listening to folks and absorbing it and not giving it back to them, just letting people be. And so people share with me often. And a lot of what people live through is hilarious. Mm-hmm. And it's when you really sit down and look, did you get over it?
Yes.
Are you still living?
Did you survive?
Did you survive?
Undamaged.
Right.
Yes.
Then let me tell you how funny that is to me.
Okay.
So that's what I do. I kind of extract the moments of hilarity and give it back to people where they can see it as for what it is.
So what's the difference between a comic and a comedian?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you know, listen. I know who I am.
Okay.
And I would even say I'm a humorist because I write stories, I tell stories, and there's a little bit of something else that's there. And I'm working through that process.
So when did you know that you were funny?
When I got kicked out of Miss Stills' class in 8th grade.
What did you do?
So Miss Stills is my 8th grade teacher, and everyone that knew and knows her or had her as a teacher knew that she bragged about knowing everybody, Miss B. You know this person that know everybody. And I got tired of hearing Miss Stills say what she knew, so she said something that she knew, Refrigerator Perry, remember? Now, I'm dating myself,
the Chicago football player.
And she said, yeah, you know, my son knows him and I met him. So I'm trying not to say anything, but
this was 8th grade.
This was 8th grade. 13.
No mouth control.
Not at all. Not at all. And I thank my parents for that because they let me be myself, and so they would encourage my free thinking and speaking. And I said under my breath, but I didn't think she heard me, but I knew my two neighbors, that I said, dang, Miss Still know everybody. She probably knows Jesus Christ. And I went to Catholic school. So now they bust out laughing. They were supposed to snicker like you're doing. No, they bust out laughing. Miss Daniels, do you have something to say? Share it with the class. No, Miss Stills, no, I don't have anything. No, stand up and share it. What do you have to say? So I said, here's my moment. So I took it.
Spotlight.
That's right. And I said, Miss Stills, do you know Jesus Christ? Get out of my classroom. Go downstairs. Don't come back until you can apologize. So I get downstairs. Now, because I was a favorite in the principal's office, I had to pick up on the last filing I was doing, and Miss Farley said, what did you see? What did you say now, Chaundra? And I said, I think Miss Stills knows Jesus Christ. And she bust out laughing. She said she probably does. So it wasn't just me.
She didn't help.
But here's the thing. She said, I'm not going to call your mother.
Okay.
She said, but what does she say?
So Chaundra, how and when did you realize that you could have a career as a comedian?
I fell into that too. Opportunities present themselves.
Okay.
And I was going through a serious situation in life and was looking for things that would challenge me. And people always say, Chaundra, you're so funny, you're so funny. No one ever said you should be a comedian.
Okay.
Because do you do comedy? They always thought I did. So I was sitting at the computer one day and I looked up comedy school. I'm a learner, so I figured there was a school for this.
Okay.
Right? That was my thought process, and there was a lot of them. And as I mentioned, I'm from New York City, and that is one of the capitals of comedy.
Absolutely.
If not the capital, with LA being the capital of the movie industry, and this comics. What's the name of the school? Offered a class.
Okay.
And it was $360. And I said, okay, I got that.
Okay.
And if I didn't, it said it was refundable because come to the orientation if you don't think you get your money back. So I said, you know what, this will work.
Okay.
And I went, and they were smart. They marketed very well. They brought this really beautiful big girl out, and she was hilarious. And she had this confidence that she exuded, and I was like, I could do that. And I was sitting next to this really fine guy. I don't know who he was. He was just a beautiful man. And he tapped me and said, if you do it, I'll do it too. And I thought he asked me out on a date, so I was ready to go. I was like, I'll go wherever you go. You want to come home with me? And I said, all right, I'll do it. And he's still a friend to this day, and we're really good friends. So I signed up 360 and took the class. And the class was being offered by, the Last Comic Standing.
Okay.
The person didn't win, but she was she went far into the process. And she was a comedy teacher, and she was really good. And it was a 8-week course, and we did a lot of writing. And she partnered us up. So with people that didn't know each other became writing partners. Okay. And my writing partner, he was just phenomenal. And he had great jokes about his own life. And I was fascinated that he could just write it and memorize it. And that was my issue. I could not do that. A lot of my comedy is just from conversation, and it allows me to capitalize on what you're saying and give it back to you. So I had not practiced or even understood that process, but he helped me to do so. Told me to walk with a book, have a pen, and I realized that I've been doing that all along, just automatically. And so what the writing allowed me to do is to stop and to really create.
So now you had a process which you had been doing all along.
Right.
So what was the best advice you got when you decided to become a comedian?
Keep going. Don't give up. If you love this thing, it will love you back. But don't do it for the applause. Do it because you're funny. Know you're funny. Be funny.
Now, I know from what you had sent me your information that you stopped comedy school.
No, once again, right, there's a theme here. I failed comedy school, right? And how do you fail comedy school? You're funny, but you failed comedy school. And what I failed was giving into my fear. Mm-hmm. And I got so afraid. And here's what I was afraid of. It was a bringer show. And a bringer show requires you to bring people that you know and that you can support you. And I had, like I said, I was going through a terrible time. So I didn't have all these people that I could say, hey, I'm going to be on stage, come and support me. And so I did not want to be there by myself. And so that scared me, that I was going to do this thing and I couldn't tell anybody. But I did, I was not in a good space to see that I had friends and family all around me. And so by not attending the graduation, which was the last show to bring people, I failed the class. But I went to support my comedy partner and the cute guy that I met, right? So I went.
He wasn't your partner, the cute guy?
I don't never get, I always, I got the fabulous gay guy. And I always end up with them as my best friends, because that's okay. Because I'm fabulous too, and we have great conversations, and we end up being a great
and
friendship.
It's the friendship that matters.
Yes. And I'm friends with the cute guy too, but okay. I went to support both of them.
Okay.
But I did not perform, and so that was a failure, not only to my part, but also for the part of the class.
So how did you get over your fear of being on the stage?
So this is a great story, because I continued to love comedy. I didn't stop loving it. But I became more of an observer. I was an audience again, and went on a boat trip in the city. And it was a comedy yacht something with a couple of friends, and the comedians were fantastic. But this one comedian, he told stories, and literally I was looking around the room and people were crying. And like literally like having you thought you was at church and they caught the Holy Spirit. They were going through something. And the Holy Ghost. It was something bad. I didn't know what was happening with these people, but he was so funny. And he was so real, and I liked him. And so you're on a boat in the middle of the Hudson River, wherever we were in the city, and the comedians don't have anywhere to go. We're going to get our food and eat, and I was behind him on the line. So I said, listen, sir, you were so fantastic. Do you think you could teach me how to do that? I would love you to be my comedy coach. And he said, I don't do that, but that's a thought. And give me your information, and I'll get back to you. And he kept his word. And so about 2 months later, he inboxed me on Facebook and let me know that he was going to start a class, and he wanted to invite me to participate. And I was excited because I'm like, okay, now I will do this, because another opportunity has presented itself, and that was the turning point right there.
So now we've been talking about comedy and comedians. Who's your favorite comedian?
Really?
Yes, really. Who's your favorite?
Mom's Mabley.
Why?
Because she did this thing for real.
Okay.
And not only did she do it, she did it at a place where she made people think, and she brought people to a level where they had to laugh. And she became a character for them for herself. And it was very, very interesting to see how this whole process, but whole person became an industry and sparked an industry. And that she really had a knack for not only working with others, but for the community. And she's just amazing. And she lived a long time. Mm-hmm. She lived a very long time. Mm-hmm. And it was very instrumental in a lot of folks' lives. And because she's a woman, I think that also is key.
So are there any other comedians that you like or whose style you try to imitate?
Well, I like George Carlin. He is definitely someone who told it like it was and is. And matter of fact, just really kind of, did you think about this? I like Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
Because he is very organic, and his ideas connect with his audience, and he's true to himself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's key. You have to have your voice, and you have to find your voice. And if anybody threatens that, you have to protect it. And I think that he did that at a time that was very key in his career. And I remember still keeping the article in Time magazine when everybody thought he was crazy when he quit Comedy Central, but he had a standard, and he was not going to let himself succumb to other people's ideas of who he should be.
That brings me to another question, because I like comedy. I do watch not a lot of the newer ones. One of the reasons being that they're so mean-spirited. Why are so many comedians today always on the negative or always really digging into people instead of just being funny?
Because people allow it. The audience allows it.
Okay.
But that's where they are. I mean, those voices wouldn't be heard
if it wasn't
being right. And so look at the climate we're in right now. You know, everybody has something to say about something, and from the most part, it's not nice. And so if you're seeing it, that's the way of the world, or that's the way you're going, where a lot of people are going to jump on that bandwagon and try to get a piece of the pie.
So do you think we'll get back to like the comedy of, say, Whoopi when she first started and was doing, I always remember the piece that she did about the girl who was handicapped but dreamt of being a whole body, or when she put the shirt on her head and she was going to be the white girl with the hair, or even Richard Pryor. Do you think we can get back to that kind of comedy?
I don't think we ever left. I think our attention has shifted. Okay. And so comedy is beautiful because everybody wants to be one, by the way. I mean, that's just one thing. And no offense, because everyone has a piece of comedy in them, right? So that's always given. But there are so many people telling stories. There's so many people out there making you laugh, and they're doing it on different levels. Comedy is very, very free. There's an industry, of course, attached to it. There's a business attached to it. But as an artist, you can take this to many levels, or stay on one level, or find a lane and work it. So it's depending on where people's attention and what they're looking for, what they want. You can Google comedy in any city, and you'll get a plethora of people doing something.
One of the things that I've learned from watching comedians, if you really listen to them, you find out that there's a lot of pain in their lives. They've been able to change it, but there's really a sensitivity that if you don't pay attention, you might miss that part of them. Why do you think that is?
It's needed. It's needed. Laughter is healing, right? So humor, and I'm not trying to lecture, but you know, I like learning, and you know.
But it's important. No, it's important for people to understand this.
It's a method to this. There's levels to this. And humor, you can go back and look in your Latin and Google this. You can Wikipedia this. It had to do with healing. It's a healing property. And so there is something that laughter does on a cellular level that allows people to be better. So as a comedian, and this is why it's an art, you have to experience this thing.
I mean, I've seen now where they have laughter camps. They have them attached a lot of times to hospitals or medical centers to help people who are facing serious illnesses, because they have found at the cellular level, laughter helps.
Because it rejuvenates. And so there is a dark road that, or a door or a space that you have to be in. Richard Pryor was so great because he not only talked about his own pain, but he talked about the pain and the ills of society.
Yes.
And gave us a mirror back to us, but we laughed at it to deal with it, right? And so Our minds are not right. I say comedians' minds are not right.
They're crazy.
No, they're not crazy. We're very wise. And the wisdom that you hear in our jokes, because we filter stuff, right? And so you and I might be in the room and see the same exact thing, but we might interpret it differently.
Yes.
Because I know there's something in there I'm supposed to get out of that, and through that process, something usually is funny.
Well, that's what I call life skills, and we've been talking about them when you talked about the ability to communicate, the ability to get along with others. And so all of those are life skills that we all need in order to survive, because as you pointed out earlier, it's all about relationships. One of the other things you told me that you're going to be doing is blogging.
Podcasting. It's
sorry.
all right.
What's the difference between a podcast and a blogger?
I don't know, B. I'm just doing podcasting. If I was a blogger, I'll tell you that. I'm
A podcaster means you're doing a video. So why did you decide to get into that?
Podcasting allows you to do audio and video, and blogging allows you to write. So yes, I do know. I just like
that's what I thought.
And so I've always wanted to be on the radio.
Okay.
I think I have a really good voice, and radio doesn't require you to lose weight. You know, because the camera gives you 10 pounds, right? You don't have all this pounds. You gotta make it like 10 because I'm really not this big, America. I'm really like. No, I look like Beyonce. You don't know it right now, but this is Beyonce, right? Okay. So, but radio allows you to, I don't know, it just sounds good. Turn on your radio in the morning and you hear this voice come over. And I always wanted to do that. And now that the technology allows you to create so much, even in your own home, I said, why not?
There's an app for that.
There's an app for everything. B, there's an app for B, there might be an app for you. You know what? Sure. I know I have arrived in this world when I become an app. Okay. Right? Where you can just press something and say, Chaundra Daniels. Chaundra Daniels. So I'm an app.
So was this the career you thought you would have as a teen?
No. I told you, B, I wanted to be a corporate lawyer. Or at least married to one. That's the truth.
Okay. One of the things that I try to ask all of my guests is about STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We've already talked about the art because that's what comedy is. Right. It truly is an art. So where and how in your everyday life do you use the science, the technology, the engineering, and the math?
My cell phone. You use it every day too. Okay. And really, all jokes aside, when you hold a cell phone, you're holding a computer. And not only you're holding a computer, someone had to design it. Someone had to test it. Someone had to get the product out, sell it, market it. There's so many layers to this thing getting to your hand. Right? So let's start with science. You have to know what chemicals and what minerals and all kind of things to make chemistry and all that stuff, biology, all that stuff that makes things work. That's the science of life and studying how things live, to put something like a cell phone together. Right?
And that's important because if we can gather to march 1 million strong, then why can't we gather in small groups to resolve one small problem in our own lives? If we can spend millions of dollars on anything and everything, then why can't we put money aside as individuals or a group to accomplish one small financial goal? If we can put aside our differences and speak to each other without anger or calling each other out of our names, and give love and respect to each other for a few hours while marching, then why can't we come together for a week to work on solving one small problem? When we recognize that we have to begin the most important undertaking in our history of saving ourselves, our children, and our communities, that in order to survive in the 21st century, we have to focus our time and energy on loving ourselves for ourselves, then we are marching more than 1 million strong.